Code.
Everybody, what's good? What's going on? JB here, back with another CyberInsight live stream. It is Advent of Cyber, day 13. We're going to be talking about one of my absolute favorite tools. This is an awesome tool both from a cybersecurity perspective when doing analysis of packets to see if there's something malicious going on in the environment. Also, equally awesome if you're just an engineer or you're an admin and you're having problems and you're trying to figure out whether or not devices are communicating back and forth, really giving you a ability to deep dive into packets and see what's going on behind the scenes. And that tool is Wireshark. So I've done a whole bunch of previous videos before on Wireshark, but today's task is going to be doing an introduction to that. So I'm super excited to dive into this. We're going to go through this room. I'm going to share some additional resources that I don't mention in here that will help you out if this is the first time that you're using Wireshark or you need a little bit of help kind of gaining some skills with it, then this is going to be great for you. So as we move through this, if you have any questions, throw those in the comments section. I appreciate everybody dropping in. As I always say, please smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, all that good stuff that helps with the algorithm. So yeah, let's do it. So let's see what we have going on here. So this is simply having a wonderful pcap time. So after receiving the phishing email on day 6 and investigating malware on day 12, it seemed everything was ready to go back to normal. However, monitoring systems started to show suspicious traffic patterns just before closing the case. So now Santa SOC needs help in analyzing these suspicious network patterns. So what are we going to be talking about today? We're going to be talking about traffic analysis, why we should be doing it, the fundamentals of it. We're going to be looking at how we can use Wireshark to be able to do that. And we're going to look at some of the basic functionalities of Wireshark. There's a lot to it. You can get really in-depth and do some really awesome things with it. But right off the bat, it's pretty easy to use. So we're going to focus kind of on those main features and easy ways to take it and make an impact with it. We're also going to look at how to assess different types of traffic patterns, identify anomalies, talk about the different types of questions you should be asking when you're using Wireshark to be able to look for things within your network as far as the traffic going on there. Learn to use some additional tools to help identify malicious addresses and conduct further analysis. And yeah, I mean, generally, we're just looking for suspicious traffic patterns and digging into that to be able to pull out further information to help develop IOCs and try and figure out, what's going on here in Santa's network. So packets and packet analysis, why does it matter? Well, packets are the most basic unit of network data transferred over a network. So any type of devices that are communicating back and forth, really looking at it from the packet level, we're going to be able to see a few different things. We're going to see the source and destination. We're going to be able to see the ports and protocols that are used and then the data held within that. So it's really the best way to be able to determine who's talking to who within an environment and be able to do some analysis on the types of traffic that we're seeing going back and forth. So we're able to identify different types of patterns, different types of connections. We can dig into that and look for different types of URLs, shares, depending upon the type of protocol being used. Sometimes we can look at even the commands and other types of activity within the packets themselves. So there's a few different ways that we can actually capture this traffic. To be able to do that, we can have devices that sit inline in the network and are monitoring stuff as it goes through. So a tool that does something like that, you could use something like Zeek or Bro. There's a whole bunch of other types of options depending on the type of networking devices that you might have in place. So for instance, if you're using some types of proxies or firewalls, they can do different types of packet captures. The other thing to mention with that is we can also use a tool to capture the traffic and save it as a file. That's known as a pcap. And then we can take that and load that into tool sets to be able to do analysis after the fact. let's see. I see that somebody's asking about what site this is. So if you look in the link in the video description, there's a link to the TryHackMe Advent of Cyber. We're doing task 18. So if you just go to that website, you should be able to get in here and be able to view this a little bit better. Sorry that the text here is a little small. Let's see. So what else was I talking about with the packet analysis? So a few things to look at when we're conducting packet analysis. So we want to make sure that we understand networks and ports and protocols. So the port numbers, which protocols are used for what type of services and their purpose. So that way we're able to understand normal and abnormal behaviors. We want to be familiar with different types of attacks. So we're able to identify kind of what is happening when we're actually looking at potentially malicious traffic. And we want to have some experience with analysis tools. And when it comes to that, it's being familiar with what those tools are. And normally we're going to be ingesting a whole lot of different data into those tools. So being familiar with the tool to be able to search for the particular things that we want to search for and drill down through, this sea of data to be able to find the pertinent information that will help us do our analysis is another one of the skill sets that we want to have when we're working with pcaps. So a few things kind of to step through as we're doing analysis. You can develop your own process checklist for this. Here are some ideas, some high-level things to look at. So we want to have a hypothesis of what's going on before we start doing the analysis. So in this case, we know that somebody mentioned that there's some malicious traffic, something set off some sensors, right? So we have this hypothesis that perhaps there is some type of infected box still within the environment. And so we're looking to see or identify traffic based off of that presumption. Packet statistics, we want to make sure and look at the combination of different types of protocols that are being used. And we can look at that from a few different ways, but understanding what's kind of normal within the environment, what's abnormal in the environment, will help out when looking at things through that lens. The services that are using the environment, which services do we normally see, which services don't we normally see? Again, understanding what's normal and then understanding stuff that might be sticking out a little bit. That doesn't mean that adversary isn't leveraging known or normal services. It's just helps kind of create a baseline so we have a better understanding of what we're looking for. That kind of leads into the unknown services. Again, if we're seeing stuff that we wouldn't be expecting in the environment, then that obviously raises a red flag. Known patterns, again, things that we would expect to be seeing within the environment as far as communication between different types of devices, that would be normal. For instance, if you know that all of the hosts are always doing DNS lookups to particular servers within the environment, but then you see another host actually making DNS queries out to another random server, maybe not within the environment, that could be something that might raise your eyebrow a little bit. Or maybe you have certain management hosts that do SSH traffic for management to other devices in the environment. If you see SSH traffic sourced from another IP address that you're not expecting, again, that could be raising some suspicions. Again, it all comes back to understanding your environment, the assets that are there, the ports and protocols and services that are used, and then through that lens, looking to see what is going on within the space. Okay, let me see. Oh, I was going to see if I could zoom in a little bit to help you out there. Maybe that looks a little bit better. All right. So what is Wireshark and how to use it? So Wireshark is a open source tool that does protocol and traffic and packet analysis. As I mentioned, you can go really, really deep into this. It's a whole bunch of different command syntax. We're going to use it at a very, very high level, very, very easy. I'm going to share some stuff that will help you if you want to go a little bit more advanced into that. So to use it, all we got to do is open it up. And the way that we're going to be doing the analysis today is actually with a pcap file, which is this right here. When you turn it on, we're just going to double click into it. And let that come up. There is a few different things that we could do here. So we could either load a pcap here, or you can actually monitor your particular interfaces in real time. So that is definitely a thing that you can do, especially if there's something currently going on that individual box and you happen to have Wireshark on there. You can definitely do that. From a engineering or admin perspective, that's normally what we do if we're troubleshooting some type of communication issue. We'll have Wireshark, turn it on, and then be watching it in real time to see the traffic going back and forth and doing analysis from that perspective. In this case, though, we're just going to be opening the pcap file. So we're just going to double click into that. You see it's also on the desktop here as well. And we have down here at the bottom, I don't know if you can see that or not. Try to move that up, but down here at the bottom, it does say that there are 1421. Let me move that up. There you go. 1421 packets totally displayed in here. The packets themselves are in sequential order as far as the time, their timestamp of when they were captured or when they happened. So you see that that's the first column here. We have a time value here. Then it's source and destination IP address, protocol, length of the packet, and then some more particular info. And that's kind of helpful from just a high level. The other cool thing is we see down here in this bottom section on the left, two different things. So this here, it's almost like you're going up the OSI stack or the OSI model. You start down at layer 2, down here. So actually layer 1, bytes on the wire, layer 2, Ethernet, layer 3, IP, layer 4, we're getting into TCP UDP. And then within that, we actually, depending on the type of traffic, it also will have the application data as well up to layer 7. So within here, we can kind of pop these open and see different types of information. So if we get into the IP section here, we can see some of the different flags that are in here. We can see the protocol, IP6, which is TCP. We can see the source and destination IP addresses. We can see the source port, destination port. So this would be RDP. We know that because 3389 is RDP. Any ports that you might be unfamiliar with, we can just go to Google and look those up. Normally it will do a somewhat good job of identifying what those port numbers are and letting you know. And you'll kind of see as we dig through here a little bit more. Cool thing with this, whenever we want to search for particular things, there's this search bar up here. And there is a lot of different commands and filters that we can do to do that. I'm going to show you this. This is a Wireshark cheat sheet. This is really hard to see because there's so much information in here, but I actually put a link for this in the video description. This is one of the greatest helpers that I use when using Wireshark if I kind of forget how to use some of the different syntax. You can search for IP addresses, port information. You can combine things together. So it just really helps when you're searching for particular things. Now, off the bat, you might not necessarily know what you need to do, but there is some easy ways to kind of add things. So if we right click on this, we can go apply filter. And we can actually pick out certain types of things that we want to search on. So let's say if we wanted to search on packets where the source address was just this 10.11.5.137, we can right click on that, apply as filter, and selected. And you see it automatically puts up a filter there of ip.source equals this. And these are all the different packets that match that. Whenever we want to clear a filter, we can just hit this little X button up here. Makes it really easy. So if you're looking through the pcap, you're starting to kind of work your way through it, you're not quite sure how to search for different things, that is one way to do it, is just find a packet that you're interested in or a packet that think you're interested in, and then you can right click on some different things down in the section. The other section over here, this is actually showing like the raw output in hexadecimal form of these different values actually within the packet itself. So it's kind of cool when you click on these different things, these different values. It's actually showing you where in the packet stream these actual values are. So let's see, anything else I kind of wanted to hit from a super high level perspective before we actually dig a little bit more into what they want us to do. I think that's it for the moment. So we open up the pcap, and then we let's see, they want us to look at the statistics stuff first. So that's going to be kind of cool. It's going to do a little bit of a breakdown of, excuse me, my watch is kind of going off here, and I'm just going to power it off because it's blowing me up and it's a little annoying. So we're going to look at the statistics here, and this is going to give us a view of, or a high level view, I should say, of all these packets, breaking down kind of what's going on as far as, you know, is it IPv4, is it UDP, is it TCP, and what protocols are used within that. So we're going to use, first off, look at the protocol hierarchy, and that will kind of give us a little bit of a better idea of the different types of traffic that we're looking at. Statistics, protocol hierarchy right here. Okay, so we see we're going to frame. So 100% of the traffic is Ethernet. And then we see most of this is all IPv4. Very small amount of this is UDP. It's only like 0.4%, so less than 1%. And then of that, we have NTP, so Network Time Protocol. That's normally a protocol that devices use to sync time so that everything within the environment is using, you know, the same time. If time kind of gets out of sync between devices, that can cause some issues with the environment. And then DNS. So DNS, as you might know, is kind of like the phone book of the internet. Whenever a device wants to go to, say, a URL, it's going to do a query against that to actually get the real IP address that the host needs to connect to. So we see some DNS traffic, and then under TCP, we see that this is pretty much all HTTP traffic. So we got HTTP traffic, and those are kind of like the main stuff that's popping up, at least here. As we dig in deeper, we can look and see what else might be going on, because we do have stuff that comes up known as HTTP traffic, but you'll see that even within that, there seems to be a lot more traffic that is not necessarily defined here. So I'm going to see what that's all about. So they say we can look at IP, TCP, UDP. The next step is to look at conversations, and we can identify if there's kind of some funky stuff going on there. So we're going to close out of this, go back to statistics, conversations. And so we have these broken down. We can look at it from MAC address. If we go IPv4, we can see source to destination. So it's pretty much these here, what appears to be going out here, or maybe not even source to destination. I'm not exactly sure. It's just showing conversation, and then we could see packets going one way and packets going the other way. We don't expect to see any v6. Now we can look at TCP and UDP. What we see here is some port 80 traffic going to these two different websites from 186. And then we see this one that it connected to over port 80. We see actually a remote desktop connection, so 3389 coming back. We also see that this is kind of higher bytes here, so maybe it was pulling down a payload or something like that. This RDP session definitely has more packets than anything else, so this is kind of interesting to keep an eye on. And then UDP, we also see NTP going out here. Was that the same IP address or different IP address? Okay, different IP address for NTP. That might just be normal traffic. And this 106.46 looks like DNS, so domain lookups. And so that might be normal as well. But definitely the thing that's kind of interesting here is this, the fact that it's HTTP and RDP to the same, HTTP to one site, and then that site doing remote desktop back is kind of interesting. We'll see. So now we kind of have, we've looked at IP addresses and port numbers and packets transferred, kind of going back and forth there. The information will help us identify suspicious IP addresses, connections, and ports. So let's analyze the findings in the section. We looked at the port 80 communication and the DNS communication, and kind of walked through what they're all talking about here as far as these different questions. So packet statistics, service identification, IP reputation check. So we could look up that IP and see if maybe it's tagged and known as an IP that might be associated with malicious domains. We could do that. Let's see. So let's take a little bit more of a dive into HTTP and DNS, since we saw that those are kind of things going on, or the main protocols that we identified there. So for DNS, we could just type in DNS, and it's going to match everything that comes up automatically identified as DNS. So we saw this 186 querying 46. And if we look at the information over here, we can see it's a query for cdn.bandityeti.thm. Sounds pretty bad to me. And then a response back from our DNS server for the IP address that goes with cdn.bandityeti.thm. And then a query for bestfestival.thm, and then a response back for that. We could go and dive a little bit deeper into these if we wanted to. We can get down into these. So as I mentioned before, when we were looking, we saw like TCP or UDP, and there wasn't anything below that. When it does identify it as an application or layer 7 type of service or application, then this will be all the way down here at the bottom, and we can kind of see a little bit more of the specifics within the packet, although this info section really summarizes that pretty good. But we can see a query for the type A. So type A is for IPv4. If it was quad A, that would be for IPv6. If it was like MX, that would be for email record. A few different types of DNS types that we could look for. But in this case, it's pretty basic. It's just type A. So it was asking for that, and then the answer, and it gives us that back. So, okay, so now we have domain names to go with the IP addresses. Again, we could look up those domain names to see if they're flagged for something. Now, the other thing they were going to do was HTTP. And we can see this. Now, it's worth mentioning, in this case, this is HTTP, this is clear text. A lot of times stuff might be HTTPS. If it's HTTPS, we aren't going to be able to necessarily see the data that's within here. The only way that you're going to be able to do that is if you have the decryption key to be able to decrypt the traffic coming from the infected box to the remote device. Sometimes, depending on the environment, you might be able to get that. Also, if you're using like a web proxy, then you might be able to get it from that as well. But if you don't have that, then you aren't necessarily going to be able to get down in here into kind of like the deep analysis within what's going on with HTTP. Also interesting if you do have HTTPS and you decrypt it, which you can do here within Wireshark, you'll then see the decrypted traffic normally labeled as HTTP2. All right, so some interesting stuff here. We have 186 going to 137, and this was the cdn.bandityeti domain. We see that it's a get command, and it's getting the mysterygift.exe, so it's pulling down this file. Again, from our previous analysis, we know that this was a malicious file that we've done some previous analysis on the past few days. We can see the user agent is Mozilla. Now the cool thing with this is because this is unencrypted, we do have like the actual packets themselves. We can actually pull out the exe. We can pull out this application from this packet capture, which we'll do here in a minute. And then we can actually take that and do some further analysis with it. So the other one, this is going to be the response from the web server, content length. Yeah. Okay, let's see what this other one is. So this is a get, favicon, icon. This is from the Best Festival Company. It's using this user agent is kind of weird. If you remember NIM, I think that was a framework that was used for putting together that application yesterday when we were doing static and dynamic analysis. I think we saw it. So NIM HTTP client. So that's kind of funky. I don't know that we would normally expect to see that in the user agent. Okay, let's see what else they wanted us to do. So we looked at DNS, we looked at the queries, we looked at the responses, we looked at the domains, HTTP. We looked at the user or the GET request. We saw that it was getting two different files. We saw the full URI, where it was actually pulling it from. We also looked at the user agent, and we saw that NIM user agent, which was kind of weird. So something else, as I mentioned, we can look at actually pulling out the actual files themselves. So to do that, we're just going to go File. We're going to export objects, and this is HTTP. So this will automatically identify any files that are within this pcap. And we see that there's two here. And we're going to go Save All. And this is going to go to the desktop. And we're going to save that. Okay. Now we can close out of this. And what we're going to do is run a hash on these. So we go SHA-256 sum to get the hash value of this, and then we're going to go to VirusTotal, look it up, and see if this is a hash value that's associated with a malicious file. So mystery gift. Oh wait, let's see where we're at. PWD. Okay, let's CD to desktop. LS to see the files. There we go. Okay, so let's go SHA-256 sum, and then mystery gift. Oh, yeah, not 265. Let's see. There we go. So now we have this hash value. Copy that. I'm going to move it over. And we can go to VirusTotal, have it up right here. So we could put in IP addresses, URLs, domains, or file hash. We're just going to do the file hash. See what that comes up with. Yeah, and we see that 38 security vendors have flagged this as being malicious. And if you remember, we did a virus total run before where we kind of went into the more in-depth stuff, kind of history, when it was seen, different sections of it. We talked about it when we did the static analysis yesterday. We saw that it was packed with UPX. Relations, we can see these different IP addresses. See different sandbox reports. We used CAP on it the other day. MITRE attack stuff. Cool. Okay, let's see what else it was that they wanted us to do with that. So we look for shared files, hashes, reputation check, domains associated with it. So it says after completing the demonstrated steps, we verified that one shared file was malicious. Before concluding the analysis, we need to correlate the findings and recall which addresses was hosting the malicious file. After finishing all the shown steps and completing the required checks, we're finished with the fundamental packet analysis process of this given case. The following steps are creating a report of your findings and escalating the sample to upper level analysts who will conduct a more in-depth analysis. So what we should be providing in this report is suspicious IPs associated with the Bandit Yeti APT, the suspicious domains, connection with suspicious addresses, the requested URIs, so where it was actually connecting to on the websites, used user agents. Again, that NIM HTTP client definitely was kind of weird. Shared file names, extensions, and hashes. So we have the file names. We got the hash for the mystery gift one. We could do it for the other one, and that probably would come up as non-malicious. Server names hosted the shared files. So let's take a look, and we can answer these questions here. I'm sure that we've already hit a bunch of these. So view the protocol hierarchy menu. What was the percent packets value for hypertext transfer protocol? So let's just go back. And we can get rid of that. And we're going to go statistics. Protocol hierarchy. HTTP was 0.3. And then it says view the conversations, navigate to the TCP section. Which port number had received more than 1,000 packets? I already know the answer for that. Just when we were looking at that, it was the one that had the most packets, and that was RDP, which was 3389, but we can just go double check just for kicks. So conversations. And we can see 80, 80, 3389. Total packets, 227, 10, 1125, so that was 3389. What is the service name of the used protocol that received more than 1,000 packets? Well, I just said that that was Remote Desktop Protocol, or RDP. Filter the DNS packets. What are the domain names? Enter the domains in alphabetical order and defanged format. So remember defanged format, we talked about this before. We're going to put braces around the periods. That way somebody can't accidentally click on it and end up going somewhere bad. So let's just go back here, close this out, go DNS. And we should be able to just let's just see printable text. See if this will work. Definitely not. Let's try that again. Copy. Nope. Let's see. One of these is going to work. Printable text, hex stream. There we go. I can work with that. Okay, so let's do this. Let's drop that there. We're going to put the bracket around that, and around that, and around that, and around that. And then we're going to go like that. And then it was, the other one was Best Festival, company.thm. Company.thm. Okay. Well, let's see, where did I do it? Oh, in alphabetical order, of course. Why not? There we go. Filter the HTTP packets. What are the names of the requested files? Enter the names in alphabetical order and defanged format. So a few different ways that we could look at that. Again, we could go HTTP. And we can see the files here. mysterygift.exe and favicon.ico. Remember, we also could go and go export objects HTTP, and that would show us the files here as well. So two different ways to get that information. Let's see, so in alphabetical order, favicon.ico. Oh, let's and mystery gift.exe in defanged format. So bracket, 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 bracket. All right. What IP address downloaded the executable file? So we see that the IP that downloaded the file was requesting it was 10.10.29.186. So let's go 10, 10, 29.186. Which domain address hosts a malicious file? Enter your name in defanged format. So that was the cdn.bandyyeti.thm. So we're just going to drop that. cdn dot bandit yeti thm. All right, and the user agent used to download the non-executable file. So that was that nim one that kind of raised my eyebrow a little bit. So this was getting that. Let's see. So I should be able to right click on this, copy, and we can just go value. Perfect. Explore the objects from pcap, calculate the file's hash. What is the SHA-256 hash value of the executable file? We already went and grabbed that, so let's see. Under details, let me just grab this. Perfect. And the last one, search the hash values of the executable file virus total. Navigate to the behavior section. There are multiple IPs associated with this file. What are the connected IP addresses? And do it defanged in numerical order. Oof. Okay. So let's see. Oh, we had those under relations. That's a pain to copy it that way. We can maybe copy it this way. All right, so I don't care about this 88.8888 because I believe that that's just a Google server for DNS lookups. So what I do care about is these three. I said in numerical order. Okay, well they look to be in numerical order there. Let's get rid of this, and we're going to get rid of the port associated with that. So we get rid of the 443 and the colon. And then we got to defang it. So brackets. And then this should be it. This should wrap it up. Let's go to that. Bam. All right. So that is it for this task covering Wireshark. I'm going to point you towards one more thing. Just because I've done a lot of these. If you go under my TryHackMe room walkthroughs, you're going to see here a whole bunch of Wireshark videos. I mean, I have some here. I have some for under my Network Plus playlist as well. I mean, probably, if I had to guess, maybe a good 8 hours total on Wireshark stuff, doing different types of analysis. So if you want to go a little bit more in depth, definitely go check these out. This Wireshark's analysis or Wireshark traffic analysis room in TryHackMe is awesome. Goes a lot more in depth. I want to say that there was this one here I did with my friend Kiki. This was about an hour and a half. This is their Wireshark 101 lab. That's a lot of fun too. So yeah, just go check those out if you want to go a little bit more in depth. If no one has any questions, we can go ahead and wrap this one up. I appreciate everybody dropping in. Good luck with finishing this room for today, and then we'll be back tomorrow with day 14 of the Advent of Cyber. All right, take care. Bye.